Have you ever been alone in a tent and felt eyes on you? Not your friends, not your family, someone else entirely, just watching, waiting, breathing. That's exactly what happened to me one summer night, and I've never been the same since. I'm the middle child in my family, sandwiched between two brothers. Both were scouts. My older brother even became an Eagle Scout, while my younger brother eventually quit. I never joined, but I always wanted to. One summer, I finally decided to create my own little adventure. We set up a tent in our huge backyard. It wasn't a typical backyard. Trees, brush, and open spaces blended together, giving it a wild, almost forest-like feel. We even had a fire pit, and my parents played along, helping us set up the whole scene for an authentic camping experience. My little brother was too young to stay out. He was only 4, but he joined in the fun until bedtime. My older brother Scott and I were left inside the tent, playing on our Game Boys, waiting for sleep to arrive. Hours passed. I was lying in my sleeping bag, tossing and turning. I had never slept outdoors like this, and it was uncomfortable, restless. When I finally turned over, expecting to drift off, Scott was gone. His sleeping bag was empty. Panic rose. I peeked outside the tent and froze. Sitting by the fire pit was a man, a stranger, staring directly at me. My heart pounded, my hands shook. I zipped the tent back up and pressed myself into the corner, trying to disappear. I stayed frozen for what felt like an eternity. The fire crackled, the wind was still, and then I heard it, a chair scraping slowly across the ground. He was moving closer, closer, and then the tent zipper began to inch down, slowly, deliberately, one small gap, just enough to peek through, and there it was, one eye. Just one eye pressed against the opening, glowing white in the dim moonlight, unblinking, watching. For a few seconds, I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. I was paralyzed. Then finally, I screamed. I scrambled out, knocking over tent poles. I heard footsteps vanish into the darkness. Lights flicked on inside the house. Dad burst outside, but the man was gone, like he was never there at all. The police came that night, but they found nothing. No footprints, no trace, just silence. But the memory stayed. Weeks later, at school, during recess, a man appeared at the fence. He smiled slowly and said, "Hey, your name's Chris, right?" My stomach dropped. I recognized him, and he remembered me. I ran inside and never looked back. But fear had already followed me home, silent, patient, and unrelenting. Even months later, I couldn't shake the thought, what if he hadn't left that night? I still don't know who he was. I still don't know why he was watching me. Some fears never leave you. They just learn to hide. And sometimes, late at night, I still feel it. That stillness, that silence, that one eye watching. Imagine driving to pick up a bargain online, only to arrive at a beautiful cliffside house and realize you are completely alone. Or are you? Something was watching, something was waiting for me. It was a sunny summer afternoon in Oregon, and I had just moved into my first house about 50 miles from Salem. I was browsing Facebook Marketplace and stumbled across a listing that caught my eye. A cream-colored sectional and a Cannondale mountain bike. Perfect. The seller agreed I could pick them up that evening. The directions led me to the coast, down a long tree-lined road, with sprawling mansions peeking through the trees. I thought, why would someone sell all this for so cheap? Finally, I turned onto the driveway, which opened to a massive clearing, leading up to a huge house perched on the cliff. The house was stunning, the kind of place that could belong to a millionaire, yet the car in front was an old, beat-up Mercury Sable. Something felt off. I walked up to the front door, only to find a yellow post-it note. Doorbell broken. Please use back door. Strange, but okay. I sent the seller a message, then walked around the side. All the blinds were closed. I reached the backyard and stepped onto the deck overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The view was breathtaking. For a moment, I forgot everything until I noticed something that made my stomach twist. Every window I had passed before now had someone or something standing behind it, motionless, silent, smiling. I froze. My phone showed no response from the seller. I debated, should I knock? Should I leave? Before I could decide, one side window I had seen before slid open, and a figure appeared, standing perfectly still, watching me. Panic set in. My gut screamed at me to run. I darted around the side of the house, avoiding windows, desperately trying to reach my car. But then, at the front porch, a man was there, hands in pockets, calm, waiting. I didn't stop to see his face. I just reversed down the driveway as fast as I could. I drove to the neighbor's house, breathless, explaining the situation. The neighbor called the homeowner, who sounded shocked. He wasn't even in town. Nobody should have been there. Later, the police checked, finding unlocked doors, but no one inside, and all the blinds back to their original positions. The listing was removed from Facebook. The car, the figures, the smiles, none of it made sense, and I can't shake the thought, why was I being watched, and what were they planning if I hadn't left? I never found out. The coastal house still haunts me. Every time I imagine standing there, looking at the ocean, I remember the still, smiling faces, perfectly frozen, just waiting. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, and some fears follow you. I always thought the woods behind my house were safe. I grew up playing in them. I knew every tree, every path, every sound. But one night, the woods introduced me to something I had never seen before. It was a warm summer evening. My friends and I had been planning this backyard pool party for weeks. Music, lights, food, laughter, everything was perfect. The kind of night you never want to end. We were maybe 2 hours into the party when I first heard it. A cough, deep slow, coming from somewhere inside the trees. I stopped and looked toward the woods. The tree line was maybe 30 feet from where I was standing. Dark, still, nothing moving. I told myself it was probably just an animal, maybe a neighbor walking their dog on the trail behind the fence. I went back to the party. 10 minutes later, I heard it again. This time, it was closer. I turned around slowly. My friends were laughing behind me, music still playing. Nobody else had noticed anything. I was the only one facing the woods, and that's when I saw the eyes. Two small lights, low to the ground at first. Then slowly they rose higher and higher until they were standing at the height of a full-grown man, just standing there at the edge of the trees, watching. I blinked and they were gone. I told myself I was imagining things. Too many hours in the sun, too tired. I grabbed a drink, sat down, tried to relax, but I couldn't stop looking at those trees. Around midnight, the party started winding down. Friends were leaving one by one. I was picking up cups from the yard when I heard something that made every hair on my body stand up. Footsteps just on the other side of the fence, slow and deliberate, walking along the length of the yard. I froze. The footsteps stopped. Then the fence creaked like something was leaning against it, pressing its weight into it slowly, testing it. I dropped everything and ran inside, locked the back door, turned off the porch light, pressed myself against the wall, and looked through the window. A tall figure was standing just outside the fence, completely still, head turned toward the house, just watching, like it had been there for hours, like it had been there long before the party even started. I called my friend who had just left, asked if he'd seen anyone walking outside on the road. He said the street was completely empty when he drove away. I watched that figure for almost 20 minutes. It never moved, never looked away. And then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Nothing, just silence. And then that cough, the same deep, slow cough from the woods, right in my ear, like whoever was standing outside that fence was also somehow on the other end of the line. I hung up immediately. When I looked back out the window, the figure was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the hallway with every light in the house on until the sun came up. The next morning, I walked outside to check the fence. I don't know what I was expecting to find, but what I found was worse than anything I had imagined. On the other side of the fence, in the soft dirt along the tree line, there were footprints, deep ones, like someone had been standing in the same spot for a very long time. And they weren't just outside the fence, they were inside the yard too. Whatever had been out there that night had already come in. It had walked all the way up to the back door, stood right where I had been standing just hours before, and then it had walked back out. My dog refused to go near the back door for 3 weeks after that night, and sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear that cough. Close, patient, waiting, like it never really left.